Hi, everyone. Today's bonus podcast is about new builds versus existing properties. This is from an article that I wrote for the New Zealand Property Investor magazine in January 2025. What makes the best investment? A new build or an existing property? Let's break down some of the pros and cons. New builds, number one, tax benefits. New builds previously had significant tax advantages, but this no longer applies now that the 2-year bright line has been reinstated and existing properties have had full interest deductibility restored from the 1st of April this year. Secondly, higher initial costs. Purchase prices of new builds are on average 6% higher than existing properties. This can result in lower rental returns, which negatively impacts your cash flow and your ability to obtain future lending. Number three, delayed or reduced income. If you're purchasing off the plan, you may face delays in construction that can affect your surplus cash flow, especially if you've got a construction loan with progress payments, and as opposed to a turnkey contract where you pay a small deposit on unconditional date and then the balance of the purchase price on settlement. If the property is part of a larger development, for example, a new apartment building, you could also be competing with many other property investors when you're looking for tenants. So it could take longer than usual to find your first tenant and or a rent reduction at the beginning of a tenancy. And just on a side note, that's certainly something that we're seeing in the market at the moment in a number of areas across New Zealand. Number four, reduced ability to add value. You can't add value to a new build by renovating it, well, duh, because it's brand new. So you're going to be relying on capital growth and debt reduction to create equity. Most new builds are also on smaller sections. Since most of the value of a property is in the land, new builds may not have as much capital growth over the long term as existing properties. Number five, exempt from RBNZ restrictions. New builds only require a 20% deposit compared to the 30% deposit required for existing properties as an investment. They're also exempt from DTI restrictions, although this is unlikely to affect your borrowing capacity until interest rates reduce further. Number six, maintenance costs. New builds may have fewer maintenance issues in the first few years. However, the building code does not require that properties meet healthy home standards for tenancies. So if you're planning on renting out a new build, you must ensure that it also meets healthy home standards. Number seven, no asbestos. Bonus, properties built prior to 2000 may contain asbestos. Therefore, with new builds, you will not need an asbestos management plan for any future renovations. The majority of properties in New Zealand do contain asbestos materials, which isn't necessarily an issue as long as the asbestos-containing materials don't get damaged, because it's the dust particles that are problematic with asbestos. Number eight, builder warranties. Many new builds come with a 10 years builder warranty, which can offer some peace of mind. Number nine, developer liquidations. This is a significant concern in the current economic climate. In this scenario, you may lose some or all of the money you've already invested in the purchase. So it really pays to do your homework on the developer and make sure that they haven't got a history of liquidating companies and then restarting under a different name. When we compare that with existing properties, number one, lower purchase price. As I mentioned before, you can potentially purchase the property below its current market value, especially if you're dealing with a motivated vendor. And that enables you to make your money when you buy instead of waiting for capital growth. And also, as I mentioned previously, existing properties do tend to be at a cheaper price point than brand new properties. Number two, established locations. This can often make it easier to determine the market rent and also the market value of the property because it's an established area already. Number three, opportunity to add value. Existing properties can allow investors to increase the value and or the rental income instead of relying purely on capital growth and rent increases. A newly renovated property can also reduce your repairs and maintenance costs for the first few years after the renovation, as per for a new build. Immediate income. Rental income can begin as soon as you take ownership, if you take on an existing tenant, or if you're able to find a tenant to move in upon settlement date. Maintenance costs. Issues like outdated wiring, plumbing, or roofing can be costly to fix, and in many cases don't add value to the property. This can be checked during your due diligence prior to purchase and can also be pretty good as far as a negotiation tool. Number 6, compliance costs. Some older homes may need upgrades to meet the healthy home standards, although this can also apply to new build. And my final thoughts on this topic: not all properties make good investments, and although you might be able to borrow enough to purchase a particular property, doesn't mean it's going to be a good investment for you. It is important to note that there's many companies with significant vested financial interest dedicated to selling new builds, many of whom use high-pressure sales tactics. If you want to learn more about property investment before you make a decision about new build versus existing, join me online for one of our upcoming free events, and I'll give you a rundown of all the fundamentals about the property market in general and fundamentals for investing to help you to become a successful investor. If you'd like to find out more about becoming a client of ours, go online to our website, propertyapprentice.co.nz, and book a meeting with my husband, Paul, free of charge. Thanks for listening. Hey there, want to stay on top of the latest property news and trends? Subscribe to the Property Apprentice podcast for weekly updates that will help you to navigate the market like a pro. We cover everything from insider tips to expert interviews, so you'll always be in the know. And don't forget to ring the bell and hit that subscribe button here on our YouTube channel for even more helpful content to boost your property journey. Check out the link in the description to subscribe to the podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode. Happy investing.